there, it's Carol with Carolbcrafts. Today we'll be making this adorable little teacup card. It's project number 1 in my Tea Together Club Kit. Check out my website www.carolbcrafts.com to see what current club kit I'm offering. Now if you don't have the club kit, don't worry, I'll give you the supplies and dimensions as we go along so that you can make this adorable card with us. So the first thing you're going to need is your Tea Together stamp set, and we'll be using this little teacup and this little roses here. The love is a warm cup of tea, but you can always use any sentiment that you want to use. And then I'm using this inside sentiment here, and then this little floral flower here for the inside. So those are the stamps that you'll need. We'll be using Grapefruit Grove ink with light and dark petal pink Stampin' blends, and then light old olive, but you could use any other green. You could use the mossy meadow, the light mossy meadow that we're going to be using in the other projects. I chose the light old olive because the green in here is more of an olive green, but you could use any other green that you have for the leaves. Now for your cardstock, you're going to need from your kit the 8.5 by 5.5 piece of very vanilla thick cardstock that's been scored at 4 1/4. That's your card base. And then you'll need also some Calypso Coral 5 1/4 by 4, and another Calypso Coral 5 by 3 3/4. You'll need some Very Vanilla. Where did it go to? Let's see. Oh, here it is. A sheet of Very Vanilla 4 3/4 by 3 1/2. That's for the inside sentiment. You'll need your DSP is going to be 5 1/8 by 3 7/8, and this is like a, the floral DSP with the Calypso Coral type of rose in it. There is a similar paper, but it has mostly pink and very little green in it. So you'll want the one with Calypso Coral and petal pink and white roses with little round berries and a lot more green. This has very little green in it. Now from your embellishments, you'll actually use these frame cutouts for your stamping, and you'll need you're going to need this petal pink frame for the heart. This is extra for you to use for whatever you'd like for another project. And then you're going to need the Very Vanilla heart to go in the center here, and then this petal pink heart you can use for another project as well. So you'll also need your little teacup that's going to go inside here. This is going to aid you in your stamping. Since you don't have the dies, this is going to aid you in stamping properly on your die cuts. Then you're going to need your 7-inch piece of the Calypso Coral satin ribbon, and a 7-inch piece of the petal pink whisper white variegated ribbon. You're also going to need 3 of the Grapefruit Grove artisan pearls. And the Grapefruit Grove ones are the darkest ones on the end here, so you'll know which ones I'm talking about. And you're also going to want a 4 by 6 piece of window sheet or plastic to help you also with your stamping placement. For your adhesives, you're going to want some mini dimensionals and either glue or snail, whichever you prefer to use. So the tools you're going to need, you're going to want the silicone sheet or mat that we sell, and or if you don't have that, you can use a strip of the mini glue dots that's left over, anything waxy that you can use. That's mostly to help us put some adhesive on the back of our little heart frame. And I'm using my piercing tool to help with the placement of this pearls. You'll also want a stamp positioner. I'll be using my Stamparatus, and you'll need a die cut machine. I'll be using the Big Shot machine. So now that we have all our supplies and dimensions, let's get started making our card. We'll start with our stamping. So we're going to need these and our heart here. And we're also going to need the inside piece for stamping, the 4 3/4 by 3 1/2 piece of Very Vanilla. Okay, we're going to start by stamping our teacup, and with this frame we're going to first stamp our teacup in a random place on scratch paper. I'm using the mini grid paper, which is great for this. I'll ink this up with the Grapefruit Grove that we're going to be using, and this will be my image to kind of give me an idea of where I want to place my frame. So I'm going to place my frame where it's perfectly centered there. I'll put my magnets in place to hold that in place. Now I'm going to put just a tiny bit of snail here in the center of my image, just a tiny bit, just enough to hold that in place. And I want to make sure that it is perfectly in place so that it stamps a perfect image. Okay, so I'm happy that it's in place now. I'm going to re-ink my stamp, and then because I'm using my Stamparatus, I can stamp on my die cut and it will be a perfect image. Now you can use this method to make multiple, if you're doing multiples for scraps, if you're doing multiples for swaps, you could punch a bunch of these out and then just continue to place them inside there one at a time until you have them all stamped. So now we have our little teacup image, and we need to put our roses on it. So we'll do our roses next. I'll clean up my stamp. So the roses are going to be a little more tricky, so we're going to use our 4x6 plastic or window sheet, and I'm just going to put my window sheet up in the corner, landscape mode, and I'm going to put my roses in the order that I want them. I'm going to stamp an image on the plastic near the bottom of the plastic. That's going to be my guide. I'm going to slip this underneath the plastic and figure out where I best want this to go on my cup. And I think that looks good. So I'll hold that in place and remove the plastic. Put my magnet down so that it doesn't move. Ink up my buds here and then stamp the image on the cup. Now I have perfect placement for that. So that's our cup. Now we're going to do our heart. So we'll clean off this stamp and our plastic, and it's important that you dry your plastic off well. So now with the heart, we're going to basically do the same thing. We're going to stamp the Love is a Warm Cup of Tea, and I'm just going to put it here in the center of this teacup because that is a good place for it. It'll be easy to see. I want it to be level though, kind of as level as possible, where the words are going straight across. Okay, so we have Love is a Warm Cup of Tea. So I'm going to put my heart here. I'm going to put this in just to kind of help it fit in there right. I'll get my heart, my Very Vanilla heart. And by the way, this heart, I should tell you, in case you want to make more, there's my sticky. So I'm going to use this to decide where I want to put this. So when that's centered where I like it, then I will put this in place, and hopefully I still have enough sticky there. It looks like I do. Get it in there perfectly. Okay, so now that I have my sticky there, I'll put my magnets in place and ink up my stamp, and it should stamp in the center of my heart where I want it. And I think I'll ink that up one more time lightly. Okay, and so now I have that image. I'll clean this stamp off. So we'll definitely want to use our plastic for the next step. So I'm going to put it here horizontally, and near the bottom I'm going to stamp Our Love is One That Covers Years. I'll do it at the bottom here. I'll make a image to use as a pattern. Now I'm going to slide this underneath the plastic and line it up to where I want it. So when I'm happy with it, I'll go ahead and stamp the image, remove the plastic, ink up my stamp, now I'm going to do that again lightly. I'll clean that stamp off. I'm going to clean off my plastic and dry it. And the last thing we'll be stamping is going to be our little flower, and we want it so that the leaves are kind of going up this way. It doesn't have to be perfect, so we can just put that there and ink that up. Now we're ready to color. Before we color, I wanted to tell you that the heart the heart here and the heart frame comes from the Be Mine Stitched Framelits dies, and it's this die right here. It actually cuts the scallop part, and then it also cuts this part, so you can use both or one, whichever you want. So we'll start by coloring the little teacup, and the teacup is light petal pink and dark petal pink, and then the leaves on the cup are going to be light old olive. There's some of it is the dark petal pink, so we'll do the dark petal pink first, which will be the flowers. Then we're also going to do the handle, and then this part right here at the bottom. Now the light petal pink is going to be here inside the cup, down here at the base of the cup, and at the edge of the saucer. Okay, so that's our cup. Now we're going to do, well, we have to do with the leaves. This is light old olive. And while we have our light old olive out, we'll go ahead and do the leaves with the inside. The inside of the flower is dark petal pink. And the petals are light petal pink. And that is our coloring. So now we're ready to start putting our card together. We'll bring our card base in with our groove facing us and fold it in half, and use our bone folder to crease that fold. I'm going to meet those up and then bring it over. It's best to meet the edges up, meet up the edges and then do your creasing towards the crease, towards the fold. If they don't meet up perfectly, that will help them to meet up perfectly, so you don't have any overhang. So now that we have our card base, we're going to bring in our DSP and our 5 1/4 by 4 inch piece of Calypso Coral. And again, you can use snail or glue, whichever you prefer. So now that you have your DSP on here, we're going to put the ribbon on. And it looks like the ribbon is 3/4 of an inch. The petal pink ribbon is going to be 3/4 of an inch from the bottom. So decide which is the bottom and measure with a pencil 3/4 of an inch from the bottom and mark it with a pencil. And that'll be your guide as to where you want to put your snail adhesive. And you put your snail just above that mark, and you want enough to hold your ribbon in place. This ribbon has a more colorful side and then a more bland side. Be sure you use the side that has the more petal pink on it. Place it over your card and then find that mark with your ribbon just above it, and then bring it around and do the same. Push it into that adhesive. Now this is ready to, now we're going to put this on here, this piece around it. Do the same thing, but this time we're going to put the adhesive over the ribbon that we have in place. And we're going to be generous about it. Place it in the center and push it in to the adhesive on the back. And then it looks like I didn't quite get it matched up perfectly here. Let's see. I want even distances on the end. Okay, so there's that one. Now we'll do this one. Now it's ready to go on our front. Again, we'll put some snail here and along the sides. And place that on the front of our card. Now we're going to do the inside sentiment. So we're going to get our 5 by 3 3/4 Calypso Coral and our Very Vanilla, and we're going to put that on with glue or snail, whichever you prefer. And then we're going to put that on the inside. Now we're ready to put our little teacups on, our teacup and our heart. Now we're going to pop up our heart in the center. We're going to put mini dimensionals on that to pop that up, and we're going to use mini dimensionals to pop up the teacup. So let's go ahead and get our heart. Let's do our heart first, so we'll have better placement for our teacup. Now this is where your rubber mat, your silicone mat, or your piece of wax paper comes in. You'll need your snail, and you'll turn it over to the back. Now if you're using the wax paper, you'll place it over the wax paper, back side facing up, and you're just going to put some snail. You don't have to put it all the way around, just in some key places so that it stays in place. If it gets a little sticky, just push it to the back once you're done. Okay, so if you have any sticky on the front, you can always just push it to the back and then come over later. If you have a lot, you can use a clean eraser and erase any adhesive. So now we're ready to place this in place, and we want it kind of at an angle, so I'm going to put my teacup where I think I want it, which is about right there, and that will help me know where to put my heart, how to place it. There we go, and then I'll just push it down when I'm ready. I'll put some mini dimensionals on the back of my heart. So I have my mini dimensionals on the back of my heart, and I've removed the backing. So I'm just going to start here in the corner and just kind of walk around with it so I can get it in the perfect placement there. Now for the cup, I don't want my mini dimensionals to be where the ribbon is. So I'm going to kind of flip it over and put my mini dimensionals in places that I know aren't going to be over the ribbon. So up at the top, then down here at the bottom, and I want to be sure I put something here on the little handle. So I'm going to get my snips and cut a really thin piece off the side here. And I'll put that on the handle there, and then I'll cut another thin piece and I'll put that on the handle here. Okay, and then I'll just remove the backings. I have the backings removed. I'm going to place it over the ribbon where I kind of would like to have it, right about there, I think. Before I push it down, I'm going to make sure that it's even, level with the edge at the bottom. And it looks like it is. I'm not sure if I should bring it up a little bit. I think that's good right there. Right here. Okay, when I'm happy with it, I'm going to push it down in place. Now the only thing left to do is our 3 little Grapefruit Grove pearls. We're going to put 2 up here in the heart and 1 down here by the flowers. So we'll do the one by the flowers first. Pick it up with my, and it's just going to go right here at the base of the flowers. This one is going to go over here, kind of where the cup is, go straight across near the edge, and then up here, kind of above the L. And there we have it. We have our first project in the Tea Together Club Kit. Check out my website, www.carolbcrafts.com, to see what current or future club kits I'll be offering. Thanks for watching. Bye now.